Hello everyone, it's Kavita from Red Door Yoga and welcome back to the Mini Sutra series online. Today I wanted to talk about the evolution of your mind. Okay, now what is important to understand is that we have in yoga something we refer to as the three gunas. Gunas, that word, means qualities. So there are three qualities of energy, there's three qualities of the mental state. And those qualities are sattva, rajas, and tamas. Okay, now, tamasic energy, or the tamasic mind, that's tamas. The tamasic mind is the mind that is clouded with ignorance. It's a heavy, inert energy. When people say, I don't know and I don't want to know, that's the tamasic mind. Okay? The rajasic mind is the seeking mind. It wants to know, but it's always very forward-reaching. It's going down the highway at 500 miles a minute type thing. And if somebody was driving that fast, and I know that's an extreme exaggeration, but if somebody was driving too quickly, they are more likely to crash because they're going too quickly to see properly and to be responsive. And that's the rajasic mind as well, that we are seeking and we're working and we want to know, but we're distorted because we're just moving too quickly. The mind is agitated. The last guna is sattva, or the sattvic state. Now, the sattvic state is the state where, and again, it doesn't matter if we're talking about energy or the mind, it is present. We're moving forward, but we're moving at a pacing that is controlled, where we can observe and we can be responsive to things. Okay? Now, the nature of the mind, its natural nature, left to its own devices, is said to be sattvic. That's what the mind is. When we see ourselves in a tamasic state, or we see ourselves in a rajasic state, we are seeing the mind in a state of distortion. We're seeing the mind in a state of dis-ease. Okay? And so on the path of self-mastery, which yoga is, we are working to bring the mind back into its natural state, to kind of remove the distortions so that the mind can be what it always was, which is sattvic, present and clear-seeing. Now, I wanted to talk really quickly about this from an evolutionary standpoint. So all of us are here in this physical world to evolve. And even though the mind is sattvic in its true nature, we come in a tamasic state. Now, remember in yoga, we look at things not just over a lifetime, we look at them, throughout several lifetimes. And so, it may not be in this lifetime that you were tamasic, or maybe it is. But you start off tamasic, all of us do, where you're clouded, you are inert, you do not want to know, you don't care to know, and you're happy to live your life like this. Okay? And so in English, the English expression we have as well is ignorance is bliss. Okay? Well, according to yoga, ignorance appears to be bliss until you start realizing that you're suffering from this ignorance. And then once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. Okay? So initially it does appear to be bliss, but it's not. Okay? So because we all start off as tamasic, where we don't know and we don't care to know, we then stay there for a while until, as I said, the suffering becomes large enough that we start to go, this isn't working for me. I want a way out of this. I want to know. But then what happens is we evolve from this tamasic state to a rajasic state where we go, I want to know. And then I'm going to work really hard at knowing. I'm going to start putting everything I've got into knowing. Now we've become agitated. We've become rajasic. We're reaching, we're striving, we're future-oriented, and we're moving down that highway with way too much energy behind in our minds. But then over time, we start to have moments of clarity. So in the beginning, I should back up here and say, we go from the tamasic state, we enter into the rajasic state, but we bounce back and forth between those two. Okay? Until eventually, bouncing back and forth, because we're going down the highway at 500 miles a minute, and we're going to crash. And when we crash, we end up in the ditch, we're back in the tamasic state, where we're like, you know what? I'm so done. I don't know. I don't want to know. But that doesn't last too long until we're like, you know what, I got to get out of this. We can see it sometimes with how someone might actually approach weight gain, where they're carrying a certain amount of weight on their frame and they're like, yeah, life is good, blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, you know what, this is not working for me. My knees hurt, my back hurts, I'm having trouble breathing. And so they're like, I'm going to do something about it. And then they try to do everything about it. And so because they're trying to do everything about it, it doesn't last long enough. They eventually burn out, and now they're back to, sitting on the couch and eating things that aren't great for them and that type of thing, and their weight goes back up again. So they bounce back and forth between these first two stages, the Temasek state and the Rajasic state. But as you're going along, as I was saying, bouncing back and forth here, you then have a glimpse of the Sattvic state, a moment or two. But that glimpse is very powerful and it's very important, because the moment you actually glimpse your actual state of being, the actual state of the mind, that Sattvic state where you are present, you are calm, you're contented, you're clear-seeing, it changes everything. Because you know now that that state really exists and it's attainable. But you only achieve it for a few seconds, and then you're back into your Rajasic and bouncing back and forth between your Temasek and your Rajasic. But then you get another glimpse of the Sattvic as you continue to work through this. And your glimpses start to last longer, until you stop bouncing back and forth between your Temasek and your Rajasic as your main movement, but rather now you start bouncing back and forth more between your Rajasic and your Sattvic. And then eventually, as you continue to work on your self-mastery, work on yourself and your path, you start spending more and more time in the Sattvic state until that becomes home. The mind rests in itself there. And then you don't see the Temasek and the Rajasic very much. And when you do, they don't last that long, because you become strong in the true nature of the mind. I hope this was helpful and interesting to you all. Okay, it's always wonderful to be here with you. Please do join us in the RDY Self-Mastery group and join us on the Red Door Yoga page if you'd like to, learn more, hear more about this stuff. And we always, look forward to having you at the studio as well. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you online again very, very soon. Namaste.